Hey everyone, welcome to the episode of the SMITE update. We are coming to you live and also on YouTube at the VOD section for this assault patch and a few reworks for some notable gods that you may or may not be used to. But as always, I'm joined here by my co-host Octane Pro. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Been super busy. I'm trying to keep up with the SMITE scene. It's crazy now because all of a sudden, like, the SMITE scene, like, I feel like just the other day was like, you know, it was very slow. It was very slow to develop. There wasn't really a lot going on. And now it's like, you don't even have enough time to keep up with everything. It's been good. It's been good because, like, every second there's, like, something new coming out or a new tournament coming to light or a new team developing or a new team drama or people leaving teams. So, like, it's so hard to keep up with everything right now. But I'm really happy. I'm really happy. And I've been good. What about yourself?
Same thing, man. There's just so much going on with SMITE right now, especially with all the tournaments, and we can talk about how, you know, what went down today. Specifically, It's recorded on Sunday the 14th, and just so many cool things going on, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I've just been, I don't know, just hanging out with the SMITE community and joining all the community members and all the changes, and going especially, you know, hard on the new Assault map that we'll talk about in this update. But a lot of fun stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I will say that those of you joining us, I was absent today. I was away from the tournament scene completely today, so I won't have any input there. But for those people just catching up on this on the VOD or weren't available, why don't you give us a few updates today from tournaments, teams, stuff like that?
A lot of fun stuff. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into it today. So the first thing is going to be, this is the patch notes version, and you'll get that in the description or also on the screen if it's possible on the YouTube video. But since you're here for the live showing, and we're going to be talking about the news part, which is, of course, the Blood Angel Thor skin. I mean, Blood equals Thor skin that just came out for the Thor skin. And just it is analogous to the Tribe's Blood Eagle outfit you'll see, but definitely has his head removed, showing his nice goldy locks. And we'll be you know, kind of interacting with that, and you will get this for free if you own the Tribes Ascend Game of the Year edition, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of a doorway in between Tribes and SMITE for Hi-Rez Studios. But definitely a really awesome skin. Do you have it?
I have it only because I purchased it, not because I actually have the previous Tribes, their version mentioned. But I love it. Like, it's the closest thing to me that reminds me of almost like Iron Man. Like, I know in the past we've talked about, hey, it'd be awesome for Ra to have an Iron Man skin. Now, granted, you run into licensing and copyright issues there, but I love it. I mean, I think it's really, really cool. I'd be interested to see if they're going to do, like, I don't know Tribes very well, so don't hate on me. But the opposite side, whoever the opposite side of the Blood Eagle was, do you recall what that team's name was?
Diamond blank.
Chat room's gonna update us and troll us.
Yeah, Mama's here. I don't know if she's gonna get caught up in chat or not. She'll tell us. Diamond Sword as the name.
There we go. There we go. But anyways, interested to see if they're gonna do that. But I really like it. I think it's a really cool idea to start to integrate and also like cross-reference some of their games. So I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. So that's going to be something you check out. I'll probably do a commentary for that as well, since I love the skin so much. But it's then actually the next part, which is the Assault game mode. This is kind of the, you know, SMITE's own spin on the all random, all mid mode. We've seen, you know, we saw it in Heroes of New Earth, we saw it in League of Legends, a little bit of Dota as well. We'll have this game mode. It's basically just all 5 players from each team will meet up in one lane and face off. You cannot go home. There's no cowardice. Cowards will be shot on sight. You have to fight until the end, until all your blood has been given to the Blood God. That's just basically how it goes. They did do a media streaming event. I know they had Total Biscuit play. I know they had Kutra. They had Sly Fox Hound. They had a lot of big people there. I know a lot of the Hi-Rez people played it as well. But again, big debut, and it kind of came out on Thursday, so a lot of people could play it. And I've been playing it through a little bit through the weekend. I do have a video up for it as well, and I'll put that on annotated on the screen if you want to go ahead and click on that. Just kind of overview and also play a match as Damage Aphrodite. And actually, it's on the screen. I actually have this video not moving at all because I'm just so good at this. So I'll show that on screen instead. You'll be able to see that as I play through. So as you can see here, if you look at the top right corner of the screen, I don't know if it's showable on the current layout. I guess it's covered by the beautiful Octane face. But it's one lane. It is single one lane. There is no side lanes or anything like that. It has a Norse, snowy type Asgardian look to it. It's really, really good looking. I mean, I think it's aesthetically pleasing. And then you go directly into the mid lane where you'll meet up with all your teammates and all your friends, and you kind of just fight for you know, one lane all the way to the end, to the mid tower. You cannot get back into. There's a few bugs. You can get back into the well. You know, buggy ways once they fix it. You cannot get back into the well. You cannot purchase anything until you die. The only way home is through death. Have you been playing it all?
Assault. I mean, I'm really happy about it. It's pretty much what like our ARAM style. It was kind of interesting. I got to play this weekend. I was at a 24-hour LAN, and two of the games were actually Dota 2, kind of ARAM style, and League of Legends ARAM style. And then I got to play this, but only because of timing, like on Sunday, like earlier today on my own. And I have to say, it blows other games single lane style completely out of the water.
Oh yeah, I mean it's perfectly wide open, and it's just like, you know, the random is really cool, and it's a lot of fun to play. It's kind of something to just kind of casually hop in. You don't have people playing their main character being all intense, anything like that. So it's just a lot of fun to play, and you know, it puts everyone on off kilter with a random character, and then everyone just fights, and there's just crazy action all over the place. You don't have to worry about anything. I mean, people still rage in it somehow, but I don't really know why. But it's just a lot of fun to play, and it's something that
Sure.
I'm glad it's on its own queue, because you know, previously as a streamer it was really difficult to set those up. Took you know, a great deal amount of time and effort to set those up through the challenge system. But now it's its own queue, and it's just super easy. And you know, you've seen everyone play. You know, all the top players playing, all the casuals, all the mid tier, you know, all the streamers. Everyone just hops in there. Even a few high risk people will just, you know, jump in for a quick fun time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was unique. Like the first time I got into it, you know, you like fall off. I got the fountain. They're called. Have you ever heard it called the fountain up till now? Like
No.
Yeah, I was like the fountain. I was like
Fountain, the well, the home.
I know. I'm like
Who knows?
home base, the starting zone. Like I just never heard it called fountain. But anyways, you kind of fall off of that, which was very interesting. Because when I was reading about Assault before it came out, and I was like, how are they going to do it? Like, how are they going to stop you? Like, is there an invisible wall that comes up that like stops your character from going into it, or how's it going to work? And literally, it's just like a ledge, like bloop, okay, and off you go.
Yep.
And funny enough, talking about that, did you see the YouTube video where like Arachne rides on top of?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, really? I was like, that's awesome. Like, we're finally starting to see that. Like, I was waiting for that to come into game at some point, to actually see like this type of character stacking of some kind, and like somebody finding a bug somewhere. But of course, it's in the new mode Assault, like of course. But but yeah. So pretty much, I'll just give you my first experience with it, and then maybe you could give me yours. I jumped in, and first thing I realized that I liked about it was that it was random. I thought that was really cool. I mean, I'm really interested to see if we're going to see a competitive Assault at some point, where like you actually pick your gods and there's bans and everything, because in most other MOBAs, like it's pretty competitive, this style of game type. So anyways, I jumped in, and I was Hell. And I am not very good at Hell. Like, I understand her mechanics. I played her several times, but I'm just not that good. And it was interesting because I didn't see the trolling that I personally, the first time I went in, didn't see the trolling that you normally would see with Conquest. Like, oh, you have to go this side, or oh, you have to go this builder, oh, you have to go these items. I was just enjoying like the scenery. Like, I was like, oh wow, that's nice. Oh wow, that
oh, it looks awesome.
I know. I was like, this artwork looks really good. Like, and I actually played it the first time at the LAN I was at, and at this LAN, like, one or two people had heard of SMITE. Nobody had played it though before, and so I loaded it up during like some downtime on my Dota 2 matches. I was playing the tournament, and I was just playing it, and people were like, "Wow, that looks like really good! Like that looks exactly like League of Legends." And I was like, "Well, it's a MOBA." I said it's very similar to League of Legends, but I said the view is completely different, and a lot of the mechanics in the game are a little different. And they're like, "Oh yeah, like it looks awesome!" Like, and I was so happy to hear like League of Legends players and Dota players like fascinated in the game because of the fact that it had this ARAM Assault style. But anyways, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the entire single lane style. I'm not sure about the space though. Like, once you get past the towers, I feel like it's so big. I feel like it could be a little smaller. Maybe like 1/4 the size.
Like the base?
No, like where most of your battles go on. So like the center of the map.
Oh, I see.
Like once you get past the towers, I feel like it's so big. Like to the left and right of you, like it's so spacious. It doesn't. I don't know. I guess I'm just so used to, and it might just be me. I'm so used to like Conquest games where like if you're single laning and it's a team fight, you guys are like on top of each other. And then you have Arena, and it's like so spacious. And this is kind of like a happy median. But I don't know. What was your first experience? And maybe you can reflect on some of the things I mentioned.
I think it's just a lot of fun. It's something that, you know, I play a lot in League of Legends, play a lot in Heroes and Earth. They had Mid Wars and all that stuff. I think it's just we've had it because of the Conquest Challenge for a long time, and really fun to play. It's just easier to get into, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's something to casually to hop into. I think it's spacious for a lot of certain characters. They would be too strong. I mean, you think about it, if it was a thin lane, you had someone like a Vulcan, or like someone with some easy skill shots or something to just bog it down. So they have the space. So there's just inequality of area, because some characters rely heavily on just the positioning and anything like that. You think about like an Ao Kuang ultimate or a Ra ultimate or something like that. Something that would funnel it into something. So you want to make sure there's plenty of room. You have like an Odin Spears. If it was like the width of the lane, then you're like, well, I can't move forward, I can't get around, or anything like that. So there's just plenty of room. So there's no advantage to positional type characters or anything like that with big skill shots or walls or anything like that, or like in a mirror wall, it would cut off half the lane. So I think it's important to have that extra space, and it just comes down to people utilizing their abilities and working together as a team versus more like a 2v2 where it's just it comes out of damage output or minions or anything like that. So I mean, it's awesome. I think it's a great addition to Smite, and I'm really glad to see it. And I'm glad they put it in so early. And it seems like they got a lot of press for it. Everyone really enjoyed it, and everyone was really excited about the fact that it got joined in. And previously I didn't see a whole lot of people, but I see Kutra now tweeting about Smite every day and making videos, and Sly Fox making more, and Total Biscuit hadn't played Smite since his intro to Smite from the beginning of the closed beta, which was like 9 months ago, and he's like, this game is so much better now, and he's all excited. So it's bringing a lot of attention to Smite, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I have to ask, right now we're at 4 game modes. My question is, which one do you think is the best? Now keep in mind, I know like Assault just came out. It's like, oh, it's so wonderful. But which one do you think is we're gonna gear this towards casual players, because we don't have competitive yet for all the game modes. So taking a look for casual players, which game mode do you think is the most new player friendly for our casual players, and which do you think is the worst in your opinion?
I think the most casual friendly is Arena, and I think the worst is Arena.
Wow. Okay. I have to ask, what makes you think that?
Well, the ARAM would probably be the most noob friendly. Unfortunately enough, it's random, so you don't obviously need to learn one character at a time. You can't really be randoming characters over and over to learn the game, so it's not really the most friendly there. You don't really know what's going on. So I think Arena is probably the best for new players, just because it's going to be, it's a good way to learn the gods, and it's very forgiving. You don't really have to worry. I mean, if you play Domination as a new player, it's just too widespread, and there's more strategy that goes into Domination. There's actually a big amount of strategy that goes into Domination versus Arena, where it's kind of just like you just smack your face on the keyboard and hopefully everybody dies type thing. There's a lot of room for mistakes in Arena versus anything else. But as far as like and by a marginal value, Arena has a lot of fun, has good value to it. It's something it's good. It just doesn't have, it's all about getting kills versus, the other game modes, which have more strategy and phases and transitions and all that kind of stuff, versus Arena just like running around and killing people and enjoying the gameplay. But as far as like the worst goes, I personally don't like Arena. I feel like it's just, it's just a big mess, and it's just not it's not the most enjoyable for me personally. I objectively, I don't think any game mode is the worst. It just depends what your preference is, and obviously my preference is not going to be Arena, so that's my opinion.
For me, I would have to say Assault is the best, and then I would have to say Domination is the worst. And the reason I like Assault is because it teaches new players, one, not to focus on one god, and one god only. Because I remember when I first started playing Smite, like I was like, oh, I'm going to pick one god, I'm going to master this god, and I'm going to be the best in the world at this god. Yeah, it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Like, one, I'm never going to be the best, ever. And second, you can't just play one god. Like, you need to be able to play all the gods, in my opinion. But once again, I like that feature for new players. I like the fact that it includes towers, phoenixes, and a minotaur, because there is strategy into that, and players do need to learn how to play that. And furthermore, it automatically pushes new players into team fights. If you look at like Arena, it's all team fights. There's no tower. Like, there is tower strategy. There's phoenix strategy, and there also is minotaur strategy. Like when you take them, how you take them. How you push, stuff like that. So, and then Domination, I say that, it's just because for a new player, you come into that, and you're like, how the hell does this work? Like, it's very difficult, very different, jumping from I'm going to call them nodes, node to node specifically. So, that's just my opinion. But any last thoughts on Assault before we go ahead and move on?
I love it.
Okay.
That's going to be my last thought there. So let's go ahead and hop into the actual changes for this patch.
Sure. So we're going to go ahead and jump into general. And this is a big one. This is a huge one. The in-match item store has undergone a significant UI overhaul, and wow, has it! Like, I go into it, and for the first like 30 seconds, and I've been playing Smite for quite a while. I was like, where do I find the items I want? Like, it's not just quick for me, at least at first. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, you've been around for quite a while. You've gotten used to the old UI, I guess. First thoughts on the new UI.
At first it's confusing, and it's actually really close to the new UI being used by League of Legends. They updated it just based on stats and make it a little cleaner. At first it's a little confusing, and once you get used to it, I actually like it a lot. And one of the biggest things that I would recommend to anyone who has gripes about it, put on the grid view. It is so obnoxious to scroll and do all that kind of stuff, but if you know the items really well by what they look like, and you understand the game you've been playing for a while, if you switch to grid view, it is awesome. It is just so good because you can find exactly what you need. It's all laid out for you. There's no scrolling. There's no nothing. There's not a single page on that in grid view that actually has to scroll. It's all laid out for you. It's very clean and nice, and it's all separated by stat. And I like it a lot better if it's on grid view.
Yeah, I feel like grid view should be the default because I feel like they built the new UI and then they like tested it with a few people and they were like, "This is crap." And they were like, how do we fix it? Oh, we put in a grid view button. Oh, there we go. It's so much better now. I feel like it was like the afterthought, like, oh man, we need to give them a better way to look at this. But all said and done, I think it's good. It's more user friendly. I like the fact that like you kind of have your check boxes on the side and your bubble boxes, I guess, option box, whatever you want to call them, that you select, and then it kind of dives directly into that area if you're looking for like physical power or physical defense or whatnot. Yeah, I think it's good. I'm eager to see how they tweak it or adjust it or add filters to it. But all said and done, I really like it, and I'm glad to see these little tweaks coming out, even as we start to approach launch more and more.
Definitely.
So jumping on to our second item here in general for the patch notes released last week, we do have on the character build screen, you may now save your choices as well as choose to use this profile when you have auto buying turned on in the game. And it says further future improvements on this functionality are planned. So I'll throw it over to you first. Thoughts on this option added into the game finally?
It's kind of been a long time coming. People were waiting for the ability to save this, and it's nice to have a tester builder type workbench that you can work with. I think they've been trying to have it for a long time. They just kind of been putting it off, or it needed a certain functionality to become delight or anything like that. So I mean, everyone's been expecting it. We've just been waiting for it to come through, and glad it's finally here.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to add a little bit more testing, as you said, in there. And it's really nice to have your custom builds. I remember as a new player starting out, like, because I have dual monitors, I would literally go out to sites like SMITE Fire or BLG and look up guides that were available, and then I would throw them on a side monitor, and then I would follow some of those guides in regards to some things. That's a good thing for new players as you advance in playing. You don't stick to that. It's all situational. But as a new player, that's how I would like have my items up that I wanted to use that game. Whereas in this now you're able to actually have them pre-built in game, which is super nice. And I think that specifically came directly from the community because I feel like people have been recommending it since like alpha. In all honesty, it's kind of been one of those things where it's like, this would be so cool. Like, we already got these builds, we got these tabs. Like, just do it. But yeah, so that's where we're at with our character build screen. Our third option here, a pop-up notification now shows when friends come online. You can control this behavior from the UI tab of settings, deciding whether to show friends online notifications always, only in the lobby, or only in-game, or never. And I think this is awesome that they give you these different options to do that. It's really cool that they thought of that ahead of time. It's all situational. Like, hey, if you're in lobby, do you want to see them? Or when you're in game. Since I haven't had a ton of time to play Smite over the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 days since the patch came out, I only got to see it in one game, earlier today, and it was kind of an obnoxious message that kind of fills the right side of the screen when it says Dry Bear is online or whatnot. But I like that you can invite them when you're in a game. I think that's really, really cool. I did see that option where it's click invite, and you can invite them. I mean, I guess as the person on the other end of that, you're like, oh, Dry Bear's in game and he just invited me. Now I got to sit here and wait till he's done because I'm not going to queue. But I think it's a really cool idea to start to show these notifications. What was your first thoughts on maybe the look of the notification and some of these features associated with it?
Well, my first thought was turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, because those notifications never went away. I mean, it was just like always bring, 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 bring. On my main account anyway. But if I had an account where the whole world wasn't my friend, I definitely would utilize it, to its fullest. I mean, it's really valuable having those notifications if you want them there, and it really helps out. Sometimes you don't check your friends list, but have that pop up for certain characters, like this is one of my close friends, or one of the people I scrim with, or maybe like your teammates from your team or whatever. You're able to okay, this person's online now. You can check it out. I think it's really valuable, adds to the social experience inside of Smite, but again, it's just like it's not something I will be utilizing on my main account probably for quite some time.
Sure. Jumping into our fourth point here for the general section of the patch notes, the Conquest queue under the Casual tab now accepts parties of only up to 3 players. A separate Conquest pre-made queue has been created for 5-person parties. Domination, Arena, Assault still support parties up to 5 players. Do you think this change is needed?
Probably for now, yeah. Making sure you can't have that 5-man queue, or at least separating it to a different, queue request, just because it's sometimes it would mix up some scrimmers, or people grouping up as a 5-man, or they don't really have a scrim available, so they'll just 5-man queue as their team. So separating that away and making sure if you want to queue, you have to queue as 5 or 3. You can't have 4. That way, the matchmaking has too much trouble trying to match that up. So it just makes it a little bit more even for everybody.
Yeah, no, I think it was definitely necessary. I like it. I'm interested to see what kind of wait times you're going to see, though, once you get into some of the 5-man casual pre-made type of queues. I mean, I know for myself, as a Twitch streamer, I do a lot of Euro games with just 3 people. So it's kind of nice to see that separation is there, where we're not going to run into your 5-man pre-mades because you're completely separate queues now. It's really only going to be 3. I mean, if that's my complete understanding, it will be separate regardless of queue times. Yeah, should be good. Happy to see that. Our next point here, when running in borderless window mode at your monitor's native resolution, the window will always be positioned on the primary monitor and cannot be moved. This helps the game behave more like full screen mode, solving a variety of user issues.
There were so many issues with that. I mean, everyone was running into it. It's just like full screen, not full screen. I had one where it would shift my borderless window slightly onto my second monitor, and that's my taskbar is vertical, so it would actually click off and go to my second monitor, or sometimes I'm doing skill shots and stuff. It was just so irritating. Yep. So I mean, I'm glad to have it. I think they'll probably re-implement it when the bugs are gone, and then they actually polish it up. But it's good to know that they're concerned about the experience that the Smite gamers are having.
Yeah, I mean, I've had quite a few issues with borderless window. I don't know if you saw any of this, but as a streamer, I'm constantly alt-tabbing to move left and right between screens. And the one thing I ran into, and I ran into a ton, was that I would alt-tab out, and so your start menu would of course be in the foreground. And then when you click back into the game, usually the game is in the foreground. Well, I would get the game in the back round behind the start menu, and it wouldn't go away. So it would always stay like that even when I was in that mode. So I had a lot of issues with XSplit, where if I had an overlay up, you'd look and there'd be a start menu across the overlay, and you're like, what? Come on. So hopefully this fixes some of these issues that they're discussing with an additional monitors and stuff like that. So we'll have to see kind of how that works out. And then finally here, I don't have enough experience, I don't play Joust enough, but fixed a variety of map bugs and issues in Joust. Are you aware of any particular that they know that went on, or any that would come up?
There was a couple. There was one spot on one of the rocks in the jungle that you could get stuck on, and you would just be sitting there flapping your arms like a chicken. And there's just certain areas that you would skill shots wouldn't run through, or abilities would get caught, or whatever. Just a lot of things that they were kind of putting off because they wouldn't really get much play time on the Joust by itself type thing. So I think they're just kind of putting it off. But and even the tone of the comment fixed a number of issues, but it's not very specific, because it's just kind of just polishing up Joust, making sure that those bugs aren't really there anymore, making it a little bit more enjoyable for people who do enjoy Joust.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that concludes the general section of the latest patch notes. We're going to go ahead and jump into the Spectator changes now with Drybear.
I'll go ahead and cut it pretty quickly here because I know a whole lot of people don't use the spectator mode except for obviously Octane and I. You use it all day to day. But pinging the minimap with the left mouse button will move the camera to a predetermined pitch with the pinged location as the focal point. Pinging the map with the right mouse button will move the camera to the precise ping location, preserving the camera angle and camera height. So it allows you to just jump around with a specific angle and specific height and all that stuff. So it's really easy to go through that. Fix an issue where clicking the mouse at the beginning of a spectating could sometimes send the viewer to a phoenix, which is quite irritating. Sometimes that would just happen through, and it's just something it's common. Sometimes it'll bring us to the well, sometimes it'll bring us to a phoenix, sometimes it'll lock us off the map, and then smooth out transitions between various camera modes and field of view changes now smoothly blend, so it's something that's just a little bit more pleasing to the eye as you switch from position to position. Fixed an issue where keyboard input was not available until everyone had loaded into the spectator mode. This is something that was quite irritating because it's just you have like 9 out of 10 people sitting there like, is it broken? Do I have to restart? Is it working? I can't move. I can't do anything. Why can't I do anything? And then eventually the last person loads in and you can start moving again. So it's just really irritating to deal with that. Also removed the ability to report players from the spectator end of match lobby. Kind of irritating that you can report people after watching a live match or anything like that. And I think you can even do it for replays as well. You can report people at the end, which is kind of, after the fact reporting people. So people just get like reports if there's a leave or something. And they fix the crash condition when playing back demos. And there's tons of them still, but hopefully, I don't know exactly which one they fixed, but there's a bunch of them.
Sure. So I did not have the opportunity to cast today. As I said, I was visiting my grandmother in the hospital, but you did have an opportunity to cast. And did you use any of these new camera angle features that they actually mentioned in the first few items of spectator changes?
Some, and it's not super apparent exactly what it is. Sure. I mean the angle is pretty standard. But when you click on a player, it zooms in like over their head, so it's a little bit different. It's like right above their head when you left click on someone or anything like that. So it's a small amount of things, and I don't know if I like it 100%, but they do offer the option to not use it, which is good, so it's not really the biggest deal. I actually saw a couple bugs today where the syncing wasn't working properly, where it would constantly, like the person who was synced to the main party would start to speed up randomly and then get off of sync and it wouldn't resync. So it was just like, yeah, it was a pain in the butt, but it seems like they're just polishing it over.
Sure, definitely. And I like the one here, remove the ability to report players from spectator end of match lobby. It's like, really? Was this a problem? Like, do we have people watching replays and spectating and being like, oh, he played like crap, report, and it's like, what, did they get the reports in? And it was like, I was watching Dry Bear in a replay, and he did X, Y, and Z, report. It's like, really? Like,
Dry Bear was a feeder in February. I watched it today. Report him again.
That can't happen because of a stupid reason. So then you guys don't understand. If you go back and watch replays, and the reason I say this is every time a patch comes out, all previous replays are voided and null. It is, no disrespect to high res, but it is the most garbage replay system ever. Like, don't give us a replay system and then erase the replays every week and a half to 2 weeks.
Oh, it's irritating.
Like, it is. This should be something they're looking into. Like, don't put it in that category of, oh, we haven't released spectator mode because it's not polished yet. You released replays how many months ago? Like, fix it. It's irritating. Like, if I want to show a Dry Bear replay from 2 months ago, I can't. Because literally you type it in, it doesn't even load. So there's my anger mode towards high res. Put a priority on it, fix it. It needs to get done.
I agree. It's a pain in the butt.
It really is. It really is. Because, like, there's nowhere now, like, let's say I wanted to look at the tournament from this weekend that you just told me about, like pre-show. You're like, yeah, there was really good BLG, comeback going on. A week from now, if I want to look at that, I can't even look at it. It's like, come on.
Well, it's also, like when they do like a hot fix in the middle of the week, you're like, good, dang it, good, you son of a good, no. Oh my god.
Well, I know you do it sometimes, and I do it a lot actually. Like I do some replay casting, to highlight different things that go on, and especially for you, like the guy that does like some of the, the top 5 plays of the week sometimes and stuff like that. Like, for you, that must be horrible. Can you imagine, like, you going to do that, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to check this. I can't get in that replay. What the heck? It came from this week. Oh, my gosh. Oh,
for the top 5 plays, pain in the butt. Every single time there was an update, you're like, well, all those plays are gone. Let's find new ones.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, oh, I'm sorry. In chat rooms, probably like, these guys sound like a bunch of crybabies. I'm sorry, but it's so true. Like, now, granted, people don't use it. I guess it depends. Like, if if you're one of those people that really likes to view replays and dive into them, then you understand our frustration. But if you like never look at replays, then you're like, stop crying, stop QQing. It's not a huge deal. There are bigger things that are a problem right now.
Well, they seem to be like working on everything at once, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? Next week we're going to see a hot fix for this go on, and we're going to be like, yeah, you heard it on the SMITE update. That's right. You heard us complaining.
That's how the world works. As long as you complain enough, things will happen.
That's right. So anyways, jumping on to the next section, we have the God changes for this patch. And the first change here was actually with On Her, and I'll put Anubis into the same category as it's the same thing. Graphics have been updated for visual and performance changes. And as I said before, I haven't had a ton of time to play this week just with family stuff going on, but I'll throw it over to you. Did you see casting today some of these graphics changes visually?
Well, the first thing I did is like I think I got home and I was on the Beyond the River sticks and I was just sitting there and I was like, what can I look at right now? So I just went directly into the effects. There's not a whole lot. It just On Her's basic attack now has sand falling off the spear when you throw it. As far as the Anubis goes, a little bit different colored and it looks a little bit better. And the Locust Swarm is exactly the same. The Grasping Hands is exactly the same. The Ultimate's a little bit cleaner. They just kind of polished it up, and the basic attacks are really what they focused on, adding a little bit of sand. I think actually the Disperse or maybe the Impale has a bunch of sand falling off it as well. So just like small stuff. Yeah,
that's kind of cool. The whole sand effect there. I'm really eager to see that. There actually wasn't an On Her in any of the games that I played at all. So that's really cool. Jumping on there, Alkong had Slither change. Fix an issue with animations on some abilities not playing correctly if fired while using the Slither ability. So adjustments there. Apollo here, which Apollo was one of the most recent gods that came out within the game. And Across the Sky, which is his ultimate, is number 4. The base damage per tick, 4 ticks, has been increased from 60, 75, 90, 105, 120 to 70, 95, 120, 145, and 170. So to give you guys a kind of an idea as to the damage difference, originally his maximum damage was 120. Now, that 120 maximum mark is now directly in the middle of it completely. So it's the third, so it goes from 120 to 170. So what are your thoughts on this? Recent God came out pretty well balanced, I thought, originally. But now we're seeing a change directly to his ultimate, which is pretty huge. What are your thoughts there?
They're trying to make it so there's more incentive to put points in his ulti. I mean, his kit's so good, you really want to put points in. Like his 1, 2, and 3 are all valuable to put points into. So you definitely want to. It's just putting more incentive to put points into that. Generally, you don't really want to have a character whose most ultimate ability is like, yeah, I'll put 1 point into it. It's not really too valuable to his skill set type thing. But I want to jump back to the Ao Kuang Slither adjustment, which kind of puts him in a bad spot. I mean, he relied heavily on the fact that you could not hear his ultimate, so you can hit it on people who are unaware or not paying attention to Ao Kuang's positioning. But now that no matter what, it always plays that ultimate sound or the tornado sound, makes it difficult for Ao Kuang to be played at the same level that he used to be. A lot of times we saw him picked up, when Ra got nerfed or Agni was banned or anything like that, we saw Ao Kuang kind of come in as a depth chart for the mid characters before Poseidon, of course. And it's just one of those things where he did fit a good role, but it's just now without that sound effect being maskable, it's very difficult to play Ao Kuang to a competitive level. I mean, most people will be paying attention to that damage output, and it's almost like you have to try and get lucky with the ultimate rather than put it unless you get into a big team fight and people aren't paying attention, or you use the terrain to your advantage. So I think it's going to change how Ao Kuang gets played, if he still gets played at all.
Is there any, and I don't know this, I really couldn't give you like a solid, legitimate answer, and you may not know it as well either. Is there any god where the ability their pop does not make any sound at all that you know of? Like, even just a pop or a psh or something like that. Is there any god you can think of?
Nope. All of them play sounds.
Well, then this one makes sense. And I understand what you're saying. Like, oh, now you can't sneak up or whatever. It makes sense. I mean, I understand it. I mean, if you're on the opposite side of a wall and you hear this popped, you should be able to, like, if you're Odin, bam, jump right over that wall and try to catch him right away type of deal. So I understand it. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say unfair, but it's not traditional to all their other abilities for their gods.
Absolutely, yeah, but it just affects as far as like if he gets picked up competitively versus other gods. But I think it's as far as overall objectively, it's most likely a necessary change because it's kind of unfair to have that come through without being able to realize it. So it's something that needs to have that reactionary value. It's just when you have that reactionary value, it kind of degrades the overall quality of Ao Kuang in a competitive match where you have 5 people who are high skill and paying attention.
Sure, definitely. Jumping into one of the biggest changes for this patch here is Arachne, and you laugh already, like you laugh because oh my gosh, like. So before we get into it, like Arachne for the past like few months has kind of been like people played her, you don't really see her a ton in competitive scene at all. She's gone through a lot of changes over the past year, and now you see like the Arachne overhaul. Like that's what they could have called this patch. Or that or Callie. But one thing here is if the eggs are broken by damage, 1 spiderling is spawned instead of 2. Okay, so there's one option there. The spiderlings will now attack the enemy that caused the eggs to burst. What are your thoughts about that change?
It's a step in the right direction. It's certainly something that makes her eggs a little less counterable during the laning phase. I don't know if it's the best way to go about it. It doesn't, it helps a lot, but again, the spiders are so squishy that regardless of that, if they're paying attention, it only takes like 2 or 3 basic attacks, even from, a magic damage dealer, to kill the one spider that, kamikazes into your face because you broke his mama's eggs there. So, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's the best way to look at it, and, even with the overall changes, I still don't think Arachne is viable. But it seems like they're paying attention to Arachne and trying to make her a little bit repurposed or put into a different role than she currently is in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like it because those of you guys that were wondering, I saw in chat, they're like, didn't it do this already? No, it did not. You would break the egg, and if you had your minions in front of you, they would just fight with them. But I like this. It forces you to be accountable. Like, oh, I don't just kill the egg sack and run and just kind of hang out, and it's not a big deal. Now it's like, oh, you attack it, and all of a sudden you got 1 spider at least coming to attack you. It kind of makes sense. I definitely understand it, and I'm really happy about that. Additional change here, Tangled Web. The radius of the web has been reduced from 25 to 20, which some people might be like, why? Like, come on now. And there's a reason, and here it comes. The web now cripples enemies that are within its radius, preventing movement-based abilities from being used. And those of you guys, aren't familiar with cripple, you'll notice that several other gods, you'll be playing, and all of a sudden, like, a cripple effect gets on you, and you're like, why can't I spam? Why can't I leap out? Like what is going on? Furthermore, the lifetime of the web has been changed from 7 seconds at all ranks to 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and 5. The speed at which the web is fired has been increased. The web will now deploy immediately if fired at her feet. That's kind of cool. Like, it has to be directly under you, which is kind of cool to see, compared to, oh, I'm going to launch it so many yards ahead. I like the fact that, it's directly at her feet, so kind of cool. What is your thought on Tangled Web?
The animation was way too slow as it was, so definitely need to be sped up there. And I like how it's instant if you're doing close by. The radius reduction, the duration reduction, and then the addition of cripple, again, it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's the best way to go about it. These changes are clever, and they're showing ingenuity, but I don't know if it's enough to help Arachne. I don't think she's really, it's pushing her closer to something. It wasn't really the fact that people could jump out of the webs or anything like that. I mean, Arachne had a great kit in the beginning. I don't know if it needed to be repurposed like this, but it just came down to the fact that Arachne didn't have a strong team fight, or didn't have enough damage to counteract her weak team fight, or her mid game, her transitions were kind of poopy. So this is an interesting addition, and I've played a couple of Arachne games, and I still don't think she's in a good place now, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
I feel like you hang out with kids all day. It was kind of poopy.
Well, it's also the high range channel. I can't use expletives, so I try to fill it with different things.
Poopy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. All right, and I'll let you take away the remaining gods here.
So we're going to direct into the next part of it. So we head into Cupid. which had a very short addition to his skill set. They fixed a description problem, which is non-consequential. But we had Fields of Love, which went from 375 damage base at level 5 to 540 base at level 5. His ultimate hits like a truck. So he has a lot of extra damage on his ultimate, but does have also the cripple and the mesmerize and all that stuff. I mean, Cupid's getting better and better as they start to change him. I think this was a good addition to the fact that his ultimate kind of really didn't influence too much. I mean, it was good in combination with the abilities, but by itself, it wasn't too great. But adding that damage is really, really good. And the scaling on Cupid is really high. And I think we even saw Root Gaming pick up Cupid twice in the monthly finals, the Curse of the Gods. So, I mean, he just does a lot of damage, and he's really, really powerful. So I'm really liking the position that Cupid's in already.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised if we go back a few weeks. We saw the patch that actually brought Cupid back into the competitive scene, and I think that was in my revenge tournament I was casting at one point, and almost every match like Cupid was being selected, and I was so excited to see like a god coming back from the grave and finally getting reintroduced into the competitive scene. But now that this huge change, like 375 people to 540, like that's a huge difference. To see that change, I could definitely see her being used more and more. And as you said today, through your casting with the tournament, you saw her quite a bit. So I'm really happy about this, and I'm hoping to see some more gods actually have these adjustments to see them reintroduced back into the competitive scene as well.
Well, speaking of being reintroduced, we had an addition to Hebo, which is kind of a gentle addition. They didn't really want to... I mean, Hebo is close, but the biggest problem about Hebo, the way he was before, he doesn't really bring much to the team. He's just kind of a damage dealer where you have like Ra or Agni who have the heal, the slow, the stun, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you don't really have that with Hebo, and Hebo is kind of a mid-range magic damage dealer versus the range you'd get from a Ra or an Agni. So we needed a little bit of addition there. So what they did is they made his Floodwater, which is his 2 ability, make it so that he applies the movement speed buff to not only himself but also to his allies, and now this helps his team out, gives a bit more of a team presence involved with all that. So something that I do like, and I think it's going to put Hebo in a better spot. Does he get picked up more often? I don't know. We didn't really see too much Hebo over this past weekend, but again, it's just because you have to put him in the side lane because he's not as great as a mid as other characters. He has a tough time against Poseidon and Agni specifically, so it's something that you really have to look out for, but it is a good addition to Hebo, and I think it puts him in a better position than he is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly would have thought this would have been something that we would have seen out of Hebo from the start. It's kind of like his team contribution. If you're trying to run away or escape, you do have the Floodwaters down and available to help your team get out. So this is definitely something that's beneficial for the entire team, not just for Hebo. And yeah, hopefully we'll see him played more and more.
Absolutely. So right after the Hebo adjustment, we're going directly into the next god, which is Kali. And speaking of Kali, we had Kali picked up, 4 times today in the BLG Casual. We had Kali actually being picked up a bunch by Root Gaming, by Andinster, and then actually got banned. At the end of the BLG, and I think he actually got banned at the end of the Cursed as well. So now we saw Kali, who was like, oh god, he's picking Kali in ranked, we're doomed to banner, get her out of here, I don't want to see her ever again. So she's, so what they did, and I'm kind of just going to roll through this as all these kind of tie together. So the first thing is her one activated ability, Kali Rage, used to do increased physical power and also increased movement speed. Now what it does is when you activate it, still gives you the same physical power, still gives you the same movement speed, but now we'll apply a damage over time bleed effect on your basic attacks, but also we'll apply it if you hit someone with your Bloodlust or 2, or if you hit someone with ticks from your Frenzy, so it applies a bunch extra damage. The next thing is Siphon Blood, which is her 3rd ability. It gets increased healing. First thing that they made the animation faster, so you get the heal quicker type thing, but now if you are using your Siphon Blood on targets that are bleeding, you'll get 20% increased healing for each one that is bleeding, so you get a bunch of healing. So if you actually use your 1 into your 2 into your 3 effectively, then you will end up having a bunch of healing versus not as much as before. So it pushes her over the edge for damage. Now she's very, very high burst, high damage, high assassin, and has a little bit more HP to counteract the fact that she has a weak team fight. So what we've seen from Kali is just doing tons of damage and topping the charts over and over and over with that bleed effect and the scaling increase from her Frenzy, which is the next thing. They increase the damage per tick on her Frenzy from 120 to max rank to 140, and also the contribution from 15% to 20%. So it gave her more damage on her ultimate. Gave her a bleed effect on her basic attacks while her 1 is active, and also a bleed effect which will hit when she hits her 2 with her 1 active, and her ultimate with her 1 active, and also made her heal stronger. So now she is higher in damage, higher in healing, and can get in, get out, and do a bunch of extra damage, which is very, very valuable for those team fights.
Yes, I can see pretty much why the bans were put into place. Like, okay, the Siphon Life, I look at that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, really? Like, our Siphon Blood, I'm sorry. Wasn't Siphon Life, like, Warlock in WoW or something like that? I don't remember. But I didn't even play a Warlock. I never played a Warlock, ever. Anyways, Siphon Blood, I just look at that, and I'm like, oh, more sustainability for her. Oh my gosh. And then her Frenzy, I'm like, oh no. Because literally, like, I remember Callie in the past. And Callie would just melt you. Like, you'd see Callie, and if she had, like, 2 levels on you, you'd be like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not even going to engage, I'm not even going to touch her. Whereas, then things kind of died down for Callie. It's like, okay, whatever. You know, Callie, no big deal. But now I see this, and I'm like, I think I have to agree with the masses. Ban, 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 ban. Get out. Do you think we're going to see some adjustments made to her? Do you think it was too much?
I think it was a good amount, and I think it's going to put Callie in a good position. I'm glad she's getting picked up in competitive play. I think it's just people aren't treating her with the respect that she deserves. She's a strong, independent woman, and she don't need no nerd. So she's, she has an extra damage output. She has enough to counteract the fight. And this is something that we'll see with Ares. Ares doesn't really have that great of a team fight if you're up against a competitive team who's paying attention. So he has this damage. That's really what Ares has. He doesn't have any peeling, doesn't have any way to, get characters off his carries or anything like that. He doesn't bring a whole lot to the table in the form of hard CC, but he does a bunch of damage, and that is a source of team fight. If you can hit people hard and force them on the back foot, that is a way to team fight. And Callie just didn't do enough before to interact in team fight. She would come from a flank and she'd be like, look, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, and then they would just win the team fight and be like, oh, Callie's here, what are you doing over here? And then just finish her off and keep going, because she just couldn't do anything during the team fights other than try to kill people, but she didn't do enough to damage to do that quickly to end the team fight. So I think she did need this. Is it a little bit too much? Maybe. It's hard to say, but I think she's in a really good place now.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how things work out and if Hi-Rez makes any hotfix adjustments or just small tweaks. I mean, as we've talked about in the past, Hi-Rez is at a point within their adjustments for beta where they're just tweaking it like a little knob right now. Small little adjustments. So we'll have to see.
Absolutely. So we're going to go into the next god, which is Loki. And I have to say, rest in peace. Loki ended up having the physical power contribution from his aim strike, which is his 3, which is when you activate it, your next basic attack on a minion or god will do a bonus damage. Had the physical power contribution reduced from 150% to 100%. So 1/3 of his overall scaling on his 3 was removed. And I got to shoot it over to you. How do you feel?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel if I'm playing a mage. Thank God. That's my reaction. Like, woo, so happy. As playing as Loki, I'm like, really? Like, this is huge. Like, as you said, like, rest in peace. Like how, like, I'm just so. It's a very huge thing to do. If you look at any god and you take away 1/3 of the damage on one of their abilities, it's huge. Now, granted, this does allow them to go ahead and ramp it up a tiny bit. In future patches if they need to. But I mean, I really think this hits home when it comes down to if you're playing a mage. I think Loki is ungodly. And I'm not just going to aim it towards Conquest. I'm going to aim it like at arenas. Loki is ungodly. Like, it's just amazing when he jumps on you as a mage. It's very difficult sometimes. I mean, now that we have Cripple in the game, Cripple being in the game where you can't use your escape sometimes because you're crippled. Loki was very, very good because of, if Crippled is stacked appropriately and comboed appropriately with some of Loki's abilities, it's disgusting. So I think this is really going to hurt Loki in being chosen. We saw him he rode the wave a little bit on the competitive scene for a little while. But I'll throw it back to you. What are your thoughts?
I didn't like it. I think Loki was in a good spot. I think he was exactly the way he needed to be as far as his vulnerabilities and strengths. And dropping down the damage on his 3 just makes him pretty weak. And not only did they drop the damage on it, but they dropped the scaling on it, which means his late game isn't as good as it used to be. And generally Loki's late game is not that good. I mean, he does a lot of damage. He scales really well, and he really shines in the early game a little bit past the towards the end of the laning phase into the mid game where he can assassinate and go around. But I'm talking about the late game where it's all team fights. fights, all towers are dead, and you're looking for objectives. He needs that scaling to stay relevant. He doesn't have a strong team fight. He can't really contribute much. He's not even supposed to be in the team fight. He's supposed to jump in, kill someone, and disappear. He's not really supposed to be part of the brawl. When the main brawl is going down, he's not supposed to be in there. So removing that scaling means he can't burst people as quickly towards the late stages of the game. It's going to weaken his overall gameplay as a assassin type character. That just leaves him as a skinny, scrawny dude with little kitchen knives who runs around and just gets picked off. So I think it was a little bit too much. Maybe go down to 125, maybe 130, or if they're trying to adjust that. But I gotta wonder why they put this patch in, if it was community consensus or if it was actually based on statistics, because I think Loki was in a good spot.
Yeah, nope, I agree.
So we're going to head into the next part of this here, which is going to be Neith, which is a very needed change, I think. So they made the backflip have a slight build-up animation before it goes off, instead of, oh, my backflip, and then she just disappears, when the Sobek dashes at her and she disappears or whatever. So it was instant before, and now it has a little bit of a lead-up on it, thankfully. So I think that was a good adjustment. It's not a lot, and if you're not looking for it, you may not see it, but it's enough for if you throw an ability at her as she backflips, you will be able to land it, versus before where you really couldn't.
Yeah, no, I think this was really needed. I know over the past several weeks, since Neith has been released, there's been a lot of question, in regards to her backflip. Was it too much? Was the distance too far that she was backflipping? Was the cooldown, too small? A lot of things. I really didn't expect this out of the backflip. I would have thought that we would have seen a range difference before we actually saw an actual lead up in regards to the animation, how long it actually takes to do it. But now that I think of it, it's similar to other leaps, so I'm really happy about that, and it's really nice to be able to have an opportunity to stun that or silence that and stop that or something in order to actually take out Neith before she actually gets completely disengaged from the battle. So I think this was a really good adjustment.
Yeah, Neith being one of the few characters in the game where all 4 of her abilities do damage. It also has a really good lane clear, good jungle clear, and good damage output in scaling in the mid game, and she's just very, very strong. So she needed a little bit of an adjustment, and I like the addition of the animation there on the backflip. And of course, the last guy we're going to touch on is Xbalanque. Not really a big, huge deal here, but what they did is they fixed an issue where branching bolas were doing slightly more damage than intended. This is something where you'd hit a big crit, and some people didn't notice because they were like, "Yeah, I did more damage because I'm awesome," rather than something's wrong. They wouldn't immediately blame the game. They'd be like, well, it's my fault. I'm just super awesome type thing. So something not a lot of people noticed this, but it did happen a lot on the Xbalanque, doing a big amount of burst damage. So I'm glad they adjusted that. Did you have any experience with Xbalanque?
I played him quite a bit, and I really like him as a god. And I did notice some of that burst. You'd be like, really? Like, where did that come from? And of course, as playing as Xbalanque, you'd be like, yep, that's just me. That's right. I got the skills, bro.
Greatest Xbalanque ever type thing.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. As I flex my little pea shooters, but yeah, no, I think it's I'm glad to see they made the adjustment. I'd like to see Hi-Rez move more in the direction of more and more adjustments to balance, and this is just getting there, identifying this and getting there. I definitely didn't notice it as much. Did you see this? Did you notice it a lot and be like, oh, there's a problem there? Like that, I shouldn't have killed him so easily.
Yeah, there's a couple times I was like, wait, what? All I have is boots. What? So there's a couple situations where they went through, and there was a bug as well where you could actually orb walk with him by activating his 1 and deactivating it and going back and forth. So there's a couple issues with Xbalanque, but again, Xbalanque, that's his main drain. How he pays the bills is his higher base damage than other characters. So having that bug out is kind of a must fix issue type thing. So I'm glad they adjusted it there. But that's gonna be it for the patch notes today, guys. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is just start up the giveaway in chat, and while we do that, we can talk about overall thoughts. What did you think about this patch overall, Octane?
Well, let's go ahead and give the code first. What do you want the keyword to be? And then we can kind of discuss
you choose.
All right, let's see keyword. Well, since it is assault, we'll make the keyword assault, as this is kind of the big deal from this patch. So we'll make the keyword assault. Don't start putting in, guys, until Drybear lets you know.
Keyword is in #assault, and also obviously if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you missed your opportunity. This was recorded before you came here, so next time better show up to live viewing because you ain't got no jams. Now, but you're welcome to comment.
Did you put the hashtag in or no?
I did.
You did put that. Okay, good. I didn't know because I know sometimes it does. Whatever. Anyways, overall thoughts on this patch. I like it. I'm glad to see some of the things that are coming along. I don't think, in all honesty, Assault was necessary before launch. It would have been really nice to launch the game live and then have Assault come out at the same time to help further the game. But as for these other adjustments, a lot of them were definitely necessary. I'm really happy to start to see some adjustments to some of these gods, like Kali and Arachne, which were kind of like the ugly ducklings. Like, you know, they're meh. They were kind of good, but not really. We don't really pick them in the competitive scene. Casual players seem to pick them a decent amount of time, but they weren't super attractive. So I'm really happy to see some of these adjustments going on. What about you? What are your thoughts?
It seems like they're focused on some of the ill-forgotten characters that really don't get too much attention. So it seems good. I think Arachne is going to prove to be more of a project than they realize, and they're kind of worried about, you know, how I can do it. I think Arachne is still not competitively viable at all, but, you know, Kali now is. I think Kali is very, very valuable and very powerful, as we see her getting picked up all weekend long in the competitive matches. And just, you know, a lot of uses there for a lot of teams that just enjoy the new Kali. I'm sure Pon is happy about it because he plays Kali and loves Kali so much. He actually got a sneak peek of it at PAX, and he was just really excited about it. So that's very, you know, exciting for him. But I think overall, just a lot of necessary things to go through. UI fixes. The new Assault map is awesome. I'm glad they have that available for people who want to play that and get really involved with all the new things happening and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that all these changes are happening and everything is just being improved upon all the time. So it's exciting to be a Smite player nowadays.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Do we want to do 3 questions and then we'll do the giveaway?
There you go.
All right, I'll let you pick them. I picked the keywords, so I'll let you pick them from chat. So guys, if you aren't familiar, we're going to take 3 questions from chat. Try to keep them as much related to the game as you can, if possible. We'll pick 3 questions, we'll talk about them, and then we'll go ahead and do the giveaway at the very, very end. So all yours, Shy Bear.
So looking at the chat here, we see a couple questions. Not too many just yet. Waiting for those questions to come through. Ooh, giveaways. How is someone chosen?
Sure, no problem.
How do you want to nerf Poseidon? That's an interesting question there. I think he's really close to being what he should be, so I think it's good for him to have that. As my dog shoots my door open and runs into the room. I think either lowering a little bit of his scaling on his passive or removing the strength a little bit on his pull from his 3. I think it's just a little bit too much in combination. Either one of those, removing a leg from that, I think can be a really good spot. But I think his pull is really strong along with the cripple, and the scaling from his passive is really, really strong as well.
Sure. No, I agree. I mean, I'm really happy with Poseidon. When he first came out, I was just like, oh, like he's ridiculous. But after playing him for a few weeks now, you know, his damage definitely scales properly with his health and his lack of defense, pretty much. I mean, he's a glass cannon. I mean, you get close enough to him, he's down. But as a range god, I really, really like him, and I think that I don't really think he needs any adjustments at this point. I don't think he needs a nerf. I don't think he needs a buff. I think he's very well balanced.
So let's see if we can catch another. What would make Bastet viable in your opinion? Oh my. A new skill set. She would need a new passive and possibly you know, some changes to her ultimate. Maybe make her ultimate a lot stronger, or make her, you know, maybe they can make the cat immune to AoE, so you have to target them individually. That would be really strong towards late stages of the game. I mean, they kind of just die as things explode all over the place, or ultimates go down, anything like that. So the ultimate kind of sucks. The passive doesn't bring anything to the table. I think Bastet's passive is probably you know, it reminds me of Call of Duty, where people will pick up Martyrdom and Last Stand. Like, my plan is to die. It is part of my lesson plan to die as many times as I can, and maybe by me dying, you'll die too. So it's just, I think it's a terrible passive, and I think it doesn't really interact too well with the competitive scene, and that's really why she doesn't really get picked up for anything. I think she's a really strong carry. I think she has a good skill set, her 1, 2, and 3. I think she has good damage output, and her late game is scary individually, but she just doesn't bring enough to the table versus other characters without a good ultimate, without a good passive. You look at Wukong's passive allows him to farm. You look at you know, Kali's passive allows her to lifesteal, and all these are augmented into their. I mean, Artemis gets crit. You know, all these people get things that make them a better carry, but Basset's like, well, if I die, I'll come back faster. It's like, well, okay, don't die in the first place. You're a carry. It's not your job type thing. So,
Yep.
it just doesn't really fit too well with her overall skill set. And I think they would need to change her passive and her ultimate, or adjust her ultimate in some way to make her viable. What about you?
I have to agree. The big thing for her is just the skill set. Especially, the big thing that stand out to me is her ultimate. If you look at her ultimate, especially in a competitive scene, it's very easy, like, to just get away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or in a competitive scene when her ultimates pop, to be like, all right, everyone attack the castle real quick. Boom, they're dead. That ultimate was kind of pointless. So I agree. I think a lot of her skills really need to be adjusted, but I feel like they could spend so much time adjusting them compared to wiping them clean and being like, all right, we're reintroducing the god because she sucked. Yeah. I think they've learned a lot over the past several months with God releases and some new abilities for God. So I'd really like to see them do that with Bastet. If that was one God where I'd like to kind of see a reset done on, I think I would opt her into that.
Absolutely. So what's the next question we want to pick here? Let's see. Top 5 mid gods competitively would easily be Poseidon, Agni, Ra, Ao Kuang. And you can do a toss-up for the 5th as far as which you want to go. I mean, you can go for on her or Neath. So probably, those would be the top 6 competitive mid characters as far as physical and magical, and, things that they would bring to the team and things that they would transit. Their transitions are strong, their lane clears are strong, and obviously more farm is very valuable for those characters. But those would be the top 5 or 6 gods for the competitive mid scene.
Yeah, I think I would definitely put Neath. I agree with all of those. As for that last choice, I would probably put Neath over on her, just because of the survivability with her ability to heal. But outside that, I completely agree. I mean, it's not very hard right now in the competitive scene to you know what you're going to get mid pretty much at this point. Just with a lot of those gods standing out much more than others. So yeah, I would have to agree with you there.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and roll for those gems. I know everyone's waiting.
Give me some gems. We'll go for it and give us our winner.
Here comes the roll, and it's come down to Ranger T. You want 400 gems, man? If you do, put your in-game name into a private message, or you can just put it in chat if you don't need the privacy. The privacy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we'll see, and I'll get those sent out tonight. I'm trying to see. Oh, there it is. He already won once. Wow, look at that. So I guess we'll get to re-roll.
Okay.
What a nice guy.
Glass Knight. Glass Knight.
I'll have to see. Where is he? Where is he? Is he still here? That's the big question. Or did you leave? I don't see him. He hasn't posted yet. We'll give him about 1 minute, guys, to post. And then after that... Oh, there it is. Perfect. I see his in-game name. Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, let's go ahead and close things out. I'll go ahead and get started first. Guys, once again, my name is Octane Pro. I am a content provider, streamer, and tapping into the casting scene here. Furthermore, if you guys want to check me out in the future, there's a few places you can. On Twitter, on Twitch, and on YouTube. You can reach me now at Octane Pro SCII. That SCII would stand for StarCraft 2. I play a lot of StarCraft 2 as well, but Smite is my primary game. So once again, that's Octane Pro SCII. And then furthermore, I kind of have to pimp it for you guys, put it out there, promote it. Here's our iTunes channel. We've actually been getting a good start to our ratings. If you guys want to help us out the most, get our ratings up, especially 5-star. If you guys really enjoy what you're listening to and you listen to it, this is audio version only. But if you do, you do enjoy listening to stuff at work, audio only, or on the car ride, or at the gym, your Smite news, check it out on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Right now, we're the only podcast on iTunes that covers Smite, so it would be really cool to see some more votes there. Keep in mind, if you give it a 3-star, it's actually, or a 4-star, it's actually counted against us versus a 5-star. So pretty much, I'm going to reach out to you guys and say, hey, get us a few 5-star ratings there. And I'll go ahead and post that link one more time in chat. But finally, Dry Bear, where can people find you and some more details?
I'm around. I'm at twitch.tv/drybear. I stream on the high res channel at twitch.tv/smite game Monday through Friday at 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. Eastern. I also do shoutcasting on the weekends, sometimes Saturdays, but every single Sunday I host whatever tournament is on the Smite Game channel. I also do YouTube, youtube.com/drybeargamers. You can find me at Twitter at twitter.com/drybeargamers. I'm around. You can find me if you need to find me. I'm just that guy, I guess. But that's going to be it for us today, guys. We're going to finish off the Smite update number 10. Surprisingly enough, we're in the double digits now, doing an excellent job with that. So we're going to be keep on bringing you the content. We're happy to see the Assault map go through. Let us know what you think about the patch in the comment section below if you're watching this on YouTube, and give us your opinion there. But as always, my name is Drybear. I'm here with my co-host Octane Pro, and we're going to be signing off. We'll catch you guys in the next update.